All right, guys, let's go for a run. Hands free today. Got a little upgrade in equipment, so we'll see if this works or not. Driveway's always the test. It's hanging on. Nice. All right. So this is the third run of the week that we have filmed, but it is the the fifth run that we're doing. No, fourth run that we're doing. No, fifth. So today is a long run. We're gonna go out for an 8-miler. As far as kind of how the week's gone, I would say it's been solid. I've spaced out the runs pretty well, so it's something that's really important when you're training is to kind of find the cadence that works for you, right? Because especially if you're somebody who has a full-time job, has a family, you really do want to find the cadence that's going to set you up for success. And it's ill-advised to try and knock out all of your runs back to back across the week. It's best if you can kind of split them up a little bit and kind of just make use of the whole week rather than a couple of days. In the people that I've trained, but also in myself in certain races or in certain training blocks, I've been guilty of kind of skipping the shorter runs in the week and trying to either up the mileage for the long run or just focusing on the long run. Because mentally, when you think about it, the long run feels like it would be the most important run of the week because it's the closest that you're going to get to race day across all of your training block. And it's one of those things that it just feels the most consequential because it's the thing that takes the most time. And in a lot of things in life that's the case, but it's certainly not here. And in fact, I would actually say that apart from this run today, the most important run of the week that I did was yesterday. And I'll tell you guys a little bit about that. So yesterday I woke up and I really didn't feel like running. I didn't feel like doing anything. I was a little bit tired from some of the runs across the week and just the baby waking up in the night, that sort of thing. And I didn't go for a run first thing in the morning. And when you have a family and you have a job, I would say that the most unselfish thing that you can do for your family is to wake up before them and get your run knocked out before they wake up. Now, as you kind of get deeper into your training, especially if you're training for an ultra, something in the 50-miler or more distance, you're gonna have trouble, finishing before they wake up. But if you get out the door a couple hours before they wake up, you're only gone for an hour rather than being gone for 5 hours in the middle of the day when they're all awake and kind of doing their thing. But anyways, yesterday I really didn't feel like running, and we were about to go spend some time with some family about 45 minutes away. But I knew that I was gonna regret it if I didn't just get out there and get on my feet, because across all of your training, the single most important metric is going to be the time that you spend on your feet across a week. Time on feet is a saying that we'll come back to time and again. But anyways, I got out and I went for just a little 2-mile run. I did it super slow. I focused just on literally just getting out there, keeping my heart rate under 150, and just getting out there and doing it. It took me, 22 minutes to finish a 2-mile run, which, it's not like it was a good time, but I'm the most proud of myself for that run yesterday than I am for any other run this week. And it's because I made the mental decision to get out there and spend that time on my feet. And two, it kind of made the difference across the whole day. Something that I say often in my everyday life is that when I don't run, I'm not a good person. And I don't mean this entirely. Like, obviously I still do as best as I possibly can without running, but running makes such a huge difference for me in terms of my attitude and my behavior towards others. I don't know if you guys find that as well, with any kind of domain of exercise, but for me specifically, running, that cardiovascular exercise man, when I do that versus when I don't, I'm just much better to be around. You know, I'm enjoyable to be around. And my wife has said the same, and others have said the same in my life too. So definitely get out there, definitely spend that time on your feet. As far as this long run today, this little 8 miler, this is a shorter long run, right? So this is going to take probably anywhere from an hour and 10 to an hour and 20 minutes. I am going to go slow today. It's raining and it's a little bit cooler outside. It's 68. So it's actually, you know, it'll actually probably be a very good exercise to go slow, because I'll be able to keep my heart rate under, I might even try and keep it under like 145 today. And we'll just spin the run, not going hard, but just keeping the elevated, but under, you know, kind of threshold heart rate, and just kind of focus on time on feet. We're going to focus on eating a little bit as well. So we're not going to eat at the same cadence as race day yet. I vowed after the 50 miler that I was not going to eat goose for a while. It's been a while. It's been since March, and it's September now, so it's been about 6 months. But man, when you eat nearly, you know, 2,000 or 3,000 calories of goose in a single day, it kind of turns you off to the idea, you know, just across the board. I was sick of them for sure, and I still am kind of sick of them. So today we got a couple of flavors, and we're gonna eat every 30 minutes. So because we're going out for an 8-mile run, the longest that we're probably gonna be out there, barring, you know, some sort of terrible thing happening, is an hour and 20 minutes. So I will practice eating every 30 minutes today. So at mile 3, we'll have a goo, and probably again at mile 6. The goal here is really just to get the body used to kind of digesting calories while we're moving. It's really important in your training to practice that eating, especially on the long runs. When you don't eat and then you go out there for a race and you're like, okay, now I'm going to eat, you know, you're likely going to have some pretty bad digestive issues, especially with the goos. I mean, really with anything. Any sort of like running product, they are a little bit hard on your digestion if you're not used to them. So I would say definitely make use of practicing that on your long runs. Before we get out there and run, I do want to talk about a little bit of kind of like a checklist to go through for your long runs, you know, before you go out. So I'm not following my own advice today. Typically, I do say to get as close to race day as possible with your conditions that you're going to have for your long run. So normally I would like to wake up, you know, 5:30 a.m., somewhere in there, go downstairs, you know, make my coffee, make my element, have some breakfast. Because, you know, as we talked about in the last video, I'm going to eat if I'm going to go over, you know, if I'm going to go over 6 miles, probably. I actually think I said 10, that's not right. If I'm running for more than an hour, I do like to eat a little bit before, unless I've had an absolutely massive meal the night before, but we'll get to that as well. So first thing, make sure that you're doing things as close to race day as possible when you're training for these long runs. When you're out training on the long runs, I would say that when you train like it's race day, when you practice that routine like it's race day, you get your body and your mind, most importantly, used to the conditions that you're going to have on race day. The biggest issue that people have on race day, I think, is they get in their heads. Running is definitely a mental game. It's all the things that we've talked about, but more so than anything, it's a mental game. And I'll probably say that about a lot of different aspects of it. Running it's a lot of things, but it is a mental game. And so when you can get out there every Saturday or every Sunday when you're doing your long runs, and you can mimic race day as close as possible, you're going to feel a lot better on race day, because you're going to have that routine down. It's going to be well thought out. It's going to be like you've done it a million times, and it's not going to be a surprise to you or to your body. You know, your body's going to be like, we know what's up. We've done this a bunch of times, and it's just time to get out here and do it again. So that's the first step. mimic race day as much as possible. The next step, especially once you get past, your single digit runs. So when you get into that 10, 12, 13, anywhere up into the mid 20s for your runs, what you do the day of your long run is not going to matter nearly as much as what you did the day before. So the day before, you're going to want to hydrate, you're going to want to eat well, you're going to want to eat enough, and you're going to want to get a good night of sleep. Now, the thing with sleep is, on race day, you're probably not going to have slept very well the night before, especially if you're doing an ultra. I mean, for any race, I've had trouble sleeping for all number of races, half marathons, ultras, whatever. So don't count on the sleep for race day, but when you're out doing these long runs, definitely try and make, get yourself a solid 8 hours beforehand. And for hydration, don't overhydrate yourself. I see a lot of people trying to drown themselves with water and they think they're doing something. You're not. You're just making the problem worse. But definitely drink kind of an adequate amount, whatever feels natural. Checklist so far: mimic race day conditions, hydrate, nutrition, and sleep well the day before, and then lastly, talk positively to yourself. I know that we talked about being kind to yourself in the last video, but when you're out for your long runs, and beforehand, just tell yourself, like, this is going to be an easy run. I've been telling myself this all morning. This is going to be an easy 8-mile run. I mean, realistically, I haven't run this long since my 50-miler back in March. Like I said, I've definitely taken some time off, about 6 months from actually, running and kind of doing things on a regular training basis. But like, this is an easy run. You can do 8 miles in your sleep, and you just talk to yourself like that. Like, just whatever you are telling yourself on the inside, that's what reality is going to look like on the outside for the most part. So definitely tell yourself, this is going to be easy. And then when you get out there and you've been saying that to yourself for, a day or so beforehand, even 2 hours or so beforehand, you're going to get out there and you're going to be like, wow, this is easy. This isn't too bad. So yeah, we're going to go out for this little 8-miler. It's a little bit rainy, so I'm definitely going to kind of update you guys mile by mile like I normally do. But if it starts raining too hard and it's just too hard for me to record, you might see a mile or two skipped, but I'll do my best for that not to be the case. The goal be about an hour to an hour and 20 minutes for this run, and to kind of keep that heart rate 145 to under. So I'll kind of update you guys as we go along, but for now, let's get out there. Let's do it. This is the perfect day for a run. Even if it rains on us a little bit, we're gonna be able to keep that heart rate low just because it's so cool and not very humid. Definitely looking forward to this one. Excited to get out there. I'll see you guys at mile 1. All right, just wrapped up mile 1. Honestly, could not be, like I said, just a better day for running. This is gonna end up being my favorite and probably best run of the week. All because it's kind of rainy. It's like 67 degrees. There's nobody out on the trail but me. It's just you versus you when you're out here. I like that competition. I like to beat that guy. I'll see you guys in a little bit. So I realized that I forgot to talk about the gear that I have on today before we got out here, which I meant to do. So this goes along with running your long runs like you're gonna run your race. So today, I just have on my pack, I have this little bottle. It's got G1M Sport in it. It's about 500 milliliters. G1M Sport's just like Gatorade, but in powder form. I also have 2 goos. And this pack is just honestly to get my body used to carrying that weight. It's important to train with that weight because I've had races before where the pack is what got me. My neck and my shoulders started hurting because I was just carrying so much. So I recommend, even if you're not, carrying all your stuff in it, just to start early in your training, carrying your pack and kind of mimicking what you're going to carry on race day. It does matter. Let me know in the comments if you guys have any questions about the gear that I'm rocking today. It's nothing crazy. All right, so we're taking a little bit of a walk break. I honestly hate walk breaks, but they bring up an important point. So before we were out running, I talked about how my goal today was to keep the pace anywhere from, I think I said 10 to 11 minutes per mile, and to keep the heart rate under 145, 150. Now, as I'm walking, it's at 145. And so the message here that's important is adapt to your environment. Don't let the training variables control you. You be in charge of them. So for instance, it's raining today. If it were raining harder, we'd still be out here. If it were snowing, if it were 110 degrees, like, we'd still be out here. The important thing is that you don't let the variables control you. You get out on top of them and manage them whatever way you can. There's always going to be a mitigation for some variable. It's on you to actually get out the door and do the work. See you guys again soon. All right, just wrapped up mile 2, 10:39 pace, in the range we wanted, but had to take that walk break because the heart rate was a little bit too high. So we're gonna keep this next mile at the same pace, and we're gonna keep an eye on the heart rate. And if it gets up too high, we're just gonna have to walk. Just make peace with it. It's all right, we're out here. That's all that matters. Me versus me today. Let's get it. All right, so as you just saw, having trouble keeping track of the heart rate. So now is a perfect time to SOS. So subjectively, it really sucks that I can't keep running at the same pace and maintaining this heart rate. Kind of bums me out. I don't like walking. Whatever though. Objectively, could be worse. I could actually feel bad. Something could be injured. I could be out of water. Heart rate is the point of this run. So it's important to keep it at that low rate that we want. That's the whole point of training. And walking is what helps that. So to solve, we're not gonna do anything different. We're just gonna keep running and walk if it gets too high. And yeah, new goal is just gonna be to keep it under 155. 145 feels a little bit unattainable today. 145 feels unattainable. Is that what I said? It doesn't matter. The goal is gonna be to keep it under 155 on the day. So that's what we're gonna focus on, and we'll just keep walking if we have to. And even if we have to walk the whole damn run, it doesn't matter because we're meeting our goal. We're training the heart rate. I can get up and run 8 miles any day of the week, but today we're really gonna focus on doing what we set out to do. So I'll see you guys at mile 3. All right, just wrapped up mile 3, 11:30 pace. We're about 32 minutes in, so it's time to eat. We're gonna have a vanilla goo. Not the best flavor in the world, but kind of tastes like vanilla pudding, I guess. Heart rate's at 164. I'm just gonna run to the next little intersection up here,
eat this goo, and I guess we'll take another walk break to try and get the heart rate down again. I'll see you guys in a little bit. All right, so mile 4 down, mile 3 down. We're on mile 4 now. 10:59 pace, and the heart rate actually did get a little bit under control. I find sometimes that like it'll break, and once it breaks, you can kind of run freely, but oftentimes it just takes a second. So we're hovering at around a 150 right now, so feeling pretty good. See you guys again soon. All right, guys, wrapped up mile 5. Best mile of the run so far in terms of heart rate. I was able to run the whole thing through 10:26 pace and no issues with the heart rate. So that's a win. And it does bring up an important point. When those SOSs arise, it doesn't mean the run's over. You just got to adjust. You got to solve and just get back after it. I'll see you guys soon. All right, just wrapped up mile 6, 10:54 pace, kept the heart rate under 155. Got 2 miles left. I'm loving this run today. Even with the issues, even with the problems, it's beautiful out here. I'm not dying of a heat stroke. And most importantly, I'm being true to myself and I'm following the goal that I set out for. And that's a rewarding feeling. I'll see you guys again soon. All right, wrapped up mile 7, onto the last mile here. I think 10:04, mile 7. Feeling pretty good. Excited to finish out this run. I'll see you guys back at the car. All right, so 8 miles wrapped up. I'll put the Strava on the screen for you guys so you can see it. I don't know exactly what my average heart rate was, but you guys will be able to see it after I'm done editing the video. Overall, great run. I'm glad that you guys got to see an actual SOS kind of happen. That's really how I think through things, you know, during a long run, during a race, during any run, when something goes wrong. I want to harp back on what I said at the beginning of that SOS. I thought this equipment was going to work better, but you know, we're just going to hold it again, and that's fine. Okay. Apologies to everyone for all that shaking. So I know that I mentioned during the SOS, or I guess right before it, I said something about my heart rate and that I was taking a walk break and that I don't really like walk breaks. And that's true. I really don't. And I'll kind of lay it out for you as to why. This doesn't apply for race day. Like for race days, I really do
I do walk and I do pace myself. All the studies on ultra running have shown that people who pace themselves finish disproportionately more races than those who just kind of go out there and go as hard as possible. I'll try and put a screenshot of one of those studies in the video as well. So I don't really like to walk on training runs because I think that it puts you in a different mindset when you walk versus when you run. And this, it seems kind of dumb, but as soon as you walk for the first time, and I really mean this in context of like you're going really hard on a training run, like let's say for a threshold run, if you send it as hard as possible and then you kind of run out of gas a little bit and you have to walk, and by have to, I mean like you've met certain criteria, that's one thing. But if you go out there and you gas yourself and you just kind of, you're like, I don't know if I can finish out this rep, it creates that quitting mindset. And so that's one of the reasons I don't love walking on training runs. However, today, I was talking about the notion of not letting the variables of your run control you, but let you make yourself be in control of those variables. And so what I mean by that is today, my heart rate started to go up, and I was struggling to maintain the pace that I wanted to. And I was most importantly struggling to maintain the heart rate that I wanted to so that I could get the training effect desired out of this run. I could have just sent it anyways because I anybody can ego run. Anybody can get out there, go as hard as possible and, finish with that, pretty 8:30 or 9-minute pace that everybody wants, for their Strava, right? But the reason that I'm so proud of myself today is because I stayed true to my goal. And that's what you guys need to be doing as well. If your goal is to have an aerobic exercise, something where you really are just out there for your long run, you're really out there trying to build your endurance, and your heart rate gets out of control, the most important thing to do is just to walk, is just to get it under control. Now, there's a couple of things that you need to do before you walk. The first one is you need to try and get your pace under control. So if you're sprinting really hard and then, your heart rate goes up, like the goal is not to keep sprinting and trying to get that heart rate down. Like you need to slow up first. And the easiest way to do that is not necessarily by like slowing down your, I don't know how to describe this. Pacing is based on like how quickly your feet are hitting the ground, not how fast you're running, if that makes sense. So first of all, just slow up your cadence, slow up the amount of times that your feet hit the ground. So instead of having this long stride where it takes a couple seconds for your feet to hit the ground, slow that up first. So make your feet tap quicker. Tap the ground quicker. The second thing is get your breathing under control. So one of the things that I learned from Andrew Huberman, I used to listen to his podcast a lot, not so much anymore, is the physiologic sigh. And sometimes this works really well for running. Sometimes it really helps me get my heart rate under control. It didn't today, but it does work sometimes. So the way that you do the physiologic sigh, and should be the second step before you decide to walk, is you take a really deep inhale in, and as soon as you get that full deep inhale in and you can't inhale anymore, take another little like sneaky quick breath. So after that deep one, and then breathe all the way out. If nothing else, this will help you calm down, which will help your heart rate calm down as well. If you can't get your heart rate under control by slowing up your stride, your cadence, pace, whatever, and you can't get it under control by your breathing, then at that point it's okay to walk a little bit. And so I met both of those criteria today. I really did try to slow up my pace and to slow up my breathing, but it didn't work, so I had to walk, and that's fine. When we talked before the run about the things that you need to do in preparation for the run, and we talked about hydration, we talked about in a previous video that hydration plays a super key role in your heart rate. So if your heart rate really is skyrocketing out of control on a shorter run, right, like a 2, 3, 4, 5 mile run, it can be important to note what you did beforehand. You know, the preparation that you do for any run is really going to reflect how that run goes. And if you're not hydrated, you're going to have a harder time getting that heart rate under control. So make sure for any run that you get adequate amounts of water in, but especially before your long run, because it is hard to hydrate, you know, during the run while things are going on, especially if you didn't bring, you know, a surplus of water. Like today, for instance, I think I was pretty hydrated, but I only had a 500 milliliter bottle. And so that was enough to last me exactly like the amount of time that I needed for the full run. I literally finished it, you know, somewhere in like the 7.5 mile range. But it's definitely important to hydrate beforehand to keep that heart rate under control. But just kind of circling back to that last point on don't let your environment variables control you, let you be in control of them. This is just such an important message for just all of running. It's, you know, if it's raining outside, you still got to get out there. If it's snowing, you still got to get out there. If it's 1,000,000 degrees, like you still got to get out there. Don't let the environment control you. Figure out how to mitigate whatever it is that is tough for you during your runs. And if you can do that, you're going to be a lot more successful as a runner, because at the end of the day, on race day, the craziest thing in the world could happen, and it could be a variable that you just have not planned or even thought about before. So getting in that mindset of being in control of the variables that you can control and being at peace with them when they arise, that is going to be the most important skill. And see, look, there I go again saying the most important skill. That is going to be the most important skill for race day, because you're going to be prepared for anything, because nothing has shaken you during your training, and you have trained yourself to be okay in uncomfortable and unfamiliar circumstances. So just to wrap things up, let's talk a little bit about the plan for next week. So this week, we're going to end up with right at about 21 miles. That's exactly where we wanted to be, 20 to 21. And next week, it'll probably be the same. I think that I did go a little bit hard this week. I think if you look at my training plan in the description, I think I was supposed to run 15 this week, but I was feeling really good, and I really did want to get a good quality long run. Sorry, I wanted to get the tripod so that I could be more still with the video. So yeah, I wanted to do that 6+ mile long run this week so that I could get my brain back in the space of, okay, we're training for something. So next week, it probably will be a very similar amount of runs done and a very similar distance for the week. The cadence for videos next week. So this week, we're going to have done a Monday, Wednesday, and Sunday. I don't love that cadence. So next week, we're going to go for a Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And you know, let me know how you guys feel about these videos and about, you know, the stuff that we talk about. I'm looking for feedback. I want to get better. So for those of you who make it to the end of the video, you know, make sure to leave a comment and tell me something that I can do better or something that you want to see more of. So there'll be 3 long videos next week. I'll keep putting out, you know, shorts every day. But you know, make sure to like the video and to subscribe. It definitely is going to help the channel grow. And, you know, I've been at this for a week. I really like it. I really didn't necessarily expect to like filming myself running, or to film myself talking, but you know, I've been running for nearly a decade at this point. So I have all this knowledge. I don't know if it's knowledge. I have something. I have a lot of something in there. And it's, you know, just, I enjoy it. I enjoy being able to talk about it and talk about how I think through things. And so I hope I can help at least, you know, even just one person, you know, kind of run an ultra or, you know, meet a goal. Yeah, so I am going to keep doing this for sure. Cause I liked it more than I expected to like it. And, I hope you guys are liking it as well. So thanks for watching this week. I guess I'll see you guys again on Tuesday.